everybody to the Single and Stilettos Show. I'm Suzanne Oshima, and I'm a matchmaker and dating coach at Dream Bachelor and Bachelorette, and I'm also the founder of Single and Stilettos. Today we have on our show Joe Amoia, and he's a dating and relationship strategist at smarterdatingforwomen.com, and I'm so excited to have him here today because we're going to talk about a topic that I think I get this question on a daily basis about why men disappear. And ladies, I know you've asked that question at least once in your life. So before we get into that, Joe, I would love for you to tell our audience a little bit about yourself.
Sure. First of all, Suzanne, again, I want to thank you for the opportunity to be here with you today. And basically, I look at myself as a dating and relationship strategist. What that means is I'm someone who's all about real-life practical strategies. I'm not about just having knowledge, but real-life tips, strategies, and skills that will help you create the results that you say you want.
Awesome. So let's just jump into it. So I'm going to give you a couple different scenarios of where women have told me a man has disappeared and they're like, I don't understand. And they come to me and they ask me these questions all the time. So the first scenario, and I think every woman has dealt with this, and that is after a few awesome dates, you know, it's going really well. He's contacting her on a consistent basis. And, you know, for maybe 2 or 3 or 4 weeks, whatever it is. And then all of a sudden, crickets, silence. He disappears, no word, nothing. So tell us, Joe, why does a guy do that and disappear after awesome dates?
Okay, so let's go to the real simple approach first.
Okay.
Simple approach is really, it's not that important to him. For whatever reason, it's just not that important. In the beginning, it was. Maybe he was getting excitement. Maybe he was interested in you. Maybe he, was ready to sleep with you, and he got that, and then he disappeared. But the bottom line is, if he's not calling, it's simply not important to him. He doesn't want to call for whatever his reasons are. Okay.
I love that you brought up the fact that if he slept with you and he got what he wanted and he moved on. I want to ask you this question and it's funny. I wasn't even going to go there, but you brought it up, and I get this question all the time. Is if a woman let's just say a woman sleeps with a guy after the 3rd date, right?
Mm-hmm.
And is that too soon to sleep with a guy?
Well, you know what? That's a great question, because always the question is, when should I sleep with them? And so when I work with a client, what I always tell them, you sleep with a client when you're emotionally ready to. And they say, well, how do I know when that is? And so my philosophy is that if you sleep with him and he disappears and you don't regret it, then you're emotionally ready. But if you sleep with him thinking, okay, well, by sleeping with him and having sex with him, he's going to like me more, he's going to love me, he's going to want to be in a relationship with me, he's going to see how wonderful I am, then you're sleeping with him for the wrong reasons. And so it's real clear that you get honest with yourself. Don't sleep with a guy until you're emotionally ready and you can handle the consequences if he disappears.
Right, because ladies, I want to bring up a really very important point, is women attach sex to emotions a lot. And, of course, there are some women that can have sex with no emotion and no attachment. But men can detach that more clearly. Like, they can have sex without emotion. Correct, Joe?
Well, I think the key word is maybe not emotions, but the meaning they give to it.
Okay, that's a great point.
Women tend to give this meaning. Well, if I sleep with him, then that means this. Where a guy's like, I slept with her because I slept with her. Because I was horny. And so it's like, it's just two different ways of looking at it. Some people eat for nourishment. Other people eat because they just enjoy eating pizza.
Exactly.
So, two totally different reasons. And that unless you walk a man's shoes, you don't know the meaning that he gives to it.
Exactly. So let's just say he does disappear after whatever it is, 4 or 5 dates, whether she slept with him or not. And all of a sudden she doesn't hear from him at all. Again, should a woman reach out to him and text him or call him?
My philosophy is that if a person isn't showing you that they want to be with you, why do you want to be with a person? You deserve better than that. When a man wants to be with a woman, he'll show her consistently. When a woman wants to be with a man, she'll show him consistently. So if a guy isn't, there's all the, should you play games? Should you wait 3 days? I'm not going to say it, but it's BS. If you want to do that, fine. And you may say, well, my cousin did that and it worked for her. I say you could run across the highway and make it across without getting killed, but it's not a smart behavior. And so,
oh my God, your analogies crack me up.
Well, it's just what I do.
Well, and I think a really, really great point, though, is you're right. If he wants to call, he's going to call. It's not you reaching out to him is going to make him call you or contact you again, right?
Right. And I think what's also is sometimes guys disappear because their stuff comes up. You know, women don't realize that men have stuff too. And so if a man says, you know, he wants a relationship and he's scared of a relationship because he has some meaning attached to it, all of a sudden he's going, wait a minute, this could be the woman. But in his mind, if this woman's going to break my heart, if she's going to, you know, drain my bank account because it's going to lead to a divorce, it's going to scare the hell of him and he's going to run. And again, my philosophy, if a guy's going to get scared and run, do you need to convince him? You know, you want a guy,
the guy for you if that's the reason why he runs.
Yeah, a guy should say, you know what, I'm ready. I'm ready for this. You know, and I see it all the time. You know, guys say, I want to be with the right woman, and as long as it's the right woman, I have no problem committing. But I need to understand that she's going to be the one who's going to make my life better and me happier.
Exactly. And ladies, one thing that I noticed that you do a lot when the guy disappears after a couple of dates or whatever it is that you tend to look inward and go, oh, I must have did something wrong. Something must be wrong with me. I must have kissed him wrong. Whatever it was, I must have turned him off. Stop looking inward so much. I mean, you can look inward a little bit, but also realize you're only 50% of the equation. He's the other 50%. And you have no idea what's going on in his life and what his issues are, right?
Yeah, absolutely. My thought is if you show up as the best you right from the get-go and he doesn't value that, he doesn't appreciate, and he doesn't want to be with you, then it's his loss. Because when the right guy comes along, he's going to go, you're the woman for me.
Exactly. Okay, so I want to give you a different scenario about when a guy disappears. And this is more in terms of a relationship. So let's just say they're in a relationship, and this actually happened to one of my clients, is she was in a relationship with a guy for over a year, and it was a serious relationship, and Thanksgiving came up, and she went away for the holidays. She talked to him literally the day that she was leaving, and it was like, have a great Thanksgiving. I'll talk to you when I get back. She got back. She never heard from him again. So tell us, Joe, why do guys disappear, like, when you're in that serious of a relationship?
Right. Well, first of all, I'd like some more background on this, because if we had her with us today, I'm sure there were some signs going on. There were some warning signals which were letting her know that something wasn't right. And because usually when it's long term, there are signs that, because guys just don't wake up and go, everything's great, now I'm out of here. So in his world, something's going on. Now, he may be contemplating that. He may be looking for the first sign. Oh, she's gone, now I'm going to take off. But usually when we get real, there are other signs going on. He may not consistently be showing up. He may not call. He may be canceling dates. He may not want to do things. There's always little subtle signs. But usually why it's difficult to pick up, because he's still around and he's still giving like 80%. So it's really clear that to understand that if he just checks out suddenly, there's usually signs. Now, if there's not, then that means that he simply was living a lie, mostly to himself. And so he tried to, you know, make a square peg fit in a round hole. He was a bad communicator until ultimately in his world, he's like, this isn't where I want to be for whatever reasons. And then he, like a coward, he just simply checked out. And that's what I call the boys. You have to realize there's a difference between boys and men.
Well, and one other thing that I want to bring up, and this actually goes to one of our other shows that you and I did about the warning signs that you're dating the wrong guy, and how if women tend to ignore the warning signs. Ladies, you need to go watch that video if you haven't watched it already. But it's like Joe said, you're going to see certain things happening before this actually happens and he disappears, and you may be ignoring those warning signs and just hoping that it's going to work out, and then it doesn't.
You know, and I could say this as a guy, is that you either feel it for a person or you don't. And you may put on a little bit of a show, but unless you're an Academy Award-winning actor, you cannot give 110% the way a person who really loves somebody and really cares somebody could. You can't do it because it's being inauthentic. It's not being genuine.
Right.
And you can't keep that up over a long period of time.
Exactly. All right, so I want to give you one other scenario, and this scenario is actually kind of a sad scenario, but it's actually happened to a lot of the women that I've talked to. And it's something that I can't even wrap my head around, but I think I know the reason why men disappear. But the situation is when a woman is going through some sort of trauma in her life, whether it's a death in her family, like her mother died, or maybe, she's having some medical issues, and say she's in a relationship with a guy, and again, a long-term thing, where she's in it over a year, they're really serious, and then again, when this trauma comes into her life, is that the man disappears. So, Joe, tell us what it's going through a guy's mind.
That's a great question. It's a great scenario. It happened to actually one of my family members. And what happens is that you have to look at it from a man's perspective. He's used to being number one. And now all of a sudden something happened where it's reversed and he's gone down the totem pole. And that scares the hell out of him. And instead of stepping up and being a man and realizing, hey, you know what? I need to step up and help her get through this and support her. It's because it's all about him and his ego. What he does is like, I might not be number one. She showed me I'm number one. So instead of communicating that, he simply runs away and he finds somebody who makes him feel that way. And it usually has to do more with the man and his self-esteem and his self-worth than it has anything to do with the woman.
So would you also say, though, that a man is the emotions part is scaring him, how much he has to step up to the plate? Because when a woman's going through those types of situations, she's going to be emotionally distraught, and he's going to really have to deal with her emotions. And does that scare a lot of men?
Absolutely. Because it's being that person. If you didn't have to be that person, and it's been all about you, and now you have to give towards others, and you're a selfish prick, then you know what? You're going to take off, because it's like, well, it's all about me and getting my needs met. But you know what? That's not a real partner, because in life, you're going to have crap thrown at you. And this is the biggest thing I see, is that if you don't pick the right person for the right reason, when life throws crap at you, and it will, instead of bringing you closer and making you stronger, it's actually like cracks in the ice. And they start to get deeper and wider until ultimately you fall in.
Exactly. And ladies, this is the one thing that I want you to realize, if this has ever happened to you, or if it happens to you in the future, is that I know if a guy disappears in that type of situation, it can be really traumatic, because not only are you going through one trauma, then you have the trauma of losing the guy that you love, right? And this is what I want you to remember, though, is that I know it's going to be really hard, but then that's when you see somebody's true colors and you realize that he was not the man for you. Because if he's not going to be there in times of need, he's not the long-term guy for you. Right, Joe?
Absolutely. My wife and I have been married now for 13 years. And life has thrown some serious stuff at us. 2 of our kids were premature. We almost went bankrupt. Had a lot of issues. But that stuff that life threw at us actually brought us closer together, actually made us stronger. And the relationship we have today is 10 times better than when we first were married. But if we weren't clear on picking the right person, this would have destroyed us. And I've seen similar situations destroy other marriages.
Exactly. And here's another great point that I want to bring up to the ladies that I think is very, very important. This is going to take some looking inward and some self-evaluation. Is, Joe, I love that you used your own personal situation. And the thing is that, ladies, stop looking for those superficial qualities of, oh, he has to be 6 feet tall, he has to have brown hair, or whatever, an athletic body. Because at the end of the day, when these types of situations come up, that's not what's going to get you through it. You want a guy that's supportive and emotionally connected to you. Right, Joe?
You know what? You just hit the nail on the head. What most experts out there ignore is there's this thing called life after you get a man. And, life is going to throw some serious SHIT at you.
Right.
And if you're not a couple and you don't know how to work together to get through this stuff, then you don't have a chance in hell, which is why most relationships fail. Is because, they get through the honeymoon period where everything's happy, happy, joy, joy, and then life just sets in. And then they don't know how to handle it. They don't know how to communicate. They don't know how to work. They don't know how to give each other space and honor that other person. And I hear it all the time. There's this thing called, but I love him. The guy's making my life miserable. He's never there for me, but I love him. And I always say, get clear on your definition of love. We throw this word love. If it was up to me, I'd take the freaking word out of the dictionary, because it's like, I love my pizza, I love the Yankees, and I love my man. It's like, that's, what's your definition of love? And really get clear on that, because you've got to get through this thing called life.
Exactly. So, ladies, I really, really want you to think twice about what's on your must-have list, because it may not be a must-have, because it may be nice for right now, but in the long term, you got to think about that. So, thanks, Joe, for being on the show. And so tell our ladies how they can find you.
Sure. The best way is simply to visit our website, which is www.smarterdatingforwomen.com.
Awesome. So thanks, Joe, for being on the show. Thanks, everybody, for joining us on the Single and Stiletto Show. Our show is available both in video format and podcast format. If you would like to view the videos, you can go to singleandstilettos.com. And if you would like to get the podcast, you can download it from iTunes. And if you would like to get our free report on the top 10 secrets on what attracts a man and what turns him off, you can click right here on the video, or you can go to singleandstilettos.com.